Welcome back to the channel. Here, you'll find intense first-person stories filled with secrets, heartbreak, and shocking twists that stay with you until the very end. Before we begin, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're listening from. I didn't feel fear right away. I felt something colder than that, something small and sharp, like a crack opening inside my chest before my mind was ready to name it. It was 6:38 in the evening, and I was still standing in the kitchen staring at my phone as if desperation alone could make it ring. My wife, Claire Bennett, was never late. In nearly 10 years of marriage, not once had she failed to tell me if she was going to be delayed. By 7:15, I had already called her 6 times. By 8 o'clock, I had phoned her office, 2 of her coworkers, the fitness studio she usually visited on Thursdays, and a neighbor she sometimes had coffee with. By 9 o'clock, I was driving aimlessly through our neighborhood in Brookmere, Connecticut, scanning intersections, parking lots, side streets and traffic lights, looking for her car, a sign, anything that could explain what was happening in some ordinary way. But ordinary had already broken apart. By midnight, I was sitting inside a police station filing a missing persons report while a hard-faced detective watched me, as though the answer was already hidden somewhere behind my eyes. "Mr. Carter, when did you last see your wife?" "This morning, before she left." "How was she? Nervous? Distant? Upset?"
No.
"She was fine. Completely normal. She kissed me. She told me she loved me. She said she'd be home before 6. Had the two of you argued? Any problems in the marriage?" I looked up at him. His name was Detective Aaron Pike. He had the tired eyes of a man who had seen too many cases end the same way. Missing wife, guilty husband. "No," I said. "We were happy. We are happy." He wrote something down without really looking at me. That was the moment I stopped being a desperate husband and became the most likely suspect. The next 3 days disappeared into a blur of repeated questions. Cold stares, open drawers, search warrants, and long silences heavier than direct accusations. The police went through the entire house. They entered our bedroom, my office, Claire's workspace, the garage, the basement. They examined her laptop, her banking activity, her messages, her search history, every account they could reach. They spoke to neighbors, colleagues, former classmates, yoga friends, old contacts. They found nothing. No signs of a struggle. No blood. No note. No hidden plan. No evidence that anyone had forced their way inside. Her car turned up in the parking garage of a shopping complex a few miles from her office. Locked, with her handbag still inside. As if she had parked, stepped out for 1 second, and vanished cleanly off the face of the earth. "Can you account for your whereabouts between 5 and 7 on Tuesday?" Detective Pike asked me again on the 4th day. "At home. I was working. I'm an architect. I work from my home studio several afternoons a week." "Can anyone confirm that?" "My daughter, Lily. She was in the living room doing homework." Lily was 9 years old. He didn't have to say it out loud. The word of a child didn't mean much against a man they were already mentally cutting open. "I did not hurt my wife," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. "I love her. I would never harm her." Pike nodded with that empty politeness people use when they have already decided who you are. "Of course, Mr. Carter. We're just reconstructing the timeline." But he wasn't reconstructing anything. He was fitting me into a version of events that already made sense to him. By day 5, the media had arrived. I never found out who leaked the story. Maybe someone inside the department. Maybe a neighbor hungry for attention. All I know is that overnight there were cameras outside my home, reporters on the sidewalk, microphones shoved toward my face anytime I opened the front door. "Mr. Carter, do you have a statement? Is it true police consider you a person of interest? Did you kill your wife?" I stopped going outside. Lily missed several days of school because other parents didn't want their children near the daughter of a possible murderer. My little girl was 9 years old, and people were already looking at her as if she carried some stain she couldn't understand. One night she sat on my lap and asked in a tiny voice that tore me in half, "Dad, where's Mom?" "I don't know, sweetheart, but they're looking for her. They'll find her." "Then why are those people outside with cameras?" Because they want to know where she is too. Then why do they yell? Why don't they ask nicely? I had no answer. By day 7, people started disappearing too. Not physically the way Claire had, but in a meaner, smaller way. They stopped answering calls. They stopped looking me in the eye. They hid behind fear. My face ran every night on local news beside words like suspicion, contradiction, investigation. My best friend from college sent one short message.
I'm sorry.
I need space. This is too much. Claire's best friend blocked my number. The neighbor I'd grilled with for years started pulling his SUV straight into the garage to avoid speaking to me. One by one, everyone I thought was mine backed away, locking doors and pretending they couldn't see me drowning. Only 2 people stayed. My younger brother, Daniel, drove in from Pittsburgh on the 3rd day and refused to leave. He slept on my couch, answered calls, made sure Lily ate, and moved around the house like a quiet wall holding the place up. He never once asked if I had done something. Not once. He simply stayed. My mother, Helen, arrived the next morning. She was 70, had a weak heart, and no doctor would have approved that trip. But she came anyway. She held my face in both hands and said, "I know you. I know the man I raised. That man could not hurt anyone." "The police don't agree," I told her. "The police are doing their job," she said. "That doesn't mean they're right." She settled into the guest room and helped care for Lily, while I sank deeper into interrogations, lawyers, reporters, and the suffocating weight of being judged by an entire city before anyone knew anything. By day 11, hope was starting to rot. There were no leads, no calls, no demands, no reliable witnesses. The police had checked wooded lots, drained ponds, reviewed traffic cameras, and issued alerts across the state. But Claire had disappeared with impossible precision, like someone had lifted her out of the world without leaving behind so much as a fingerprint. That night, they summoned me again. It was the 7th interview in 11 days. This time Detective Pike was not alone. A woman around 50 sat beside him, dressed in a dark suit, posture perfect, her calm so cold she didn't feel like police. She felt worse. "Mr. Carter," she said, "we're having trouble verifying certain parts of your wife's past." I frowned. "What does that mean?" "For example, the university degree you believed she earned. You understood that she studied communications at a college in Vermont." "Correct. Yes. Her diploma is hanging in our house. That institution has no record of a student by that name during those years." "That's impossible. I've seen the diploma. I've seen graduation photos." She exchanged a brief glance with Pike. "Mr. Carter, when you met your wife, what exactly did you know about her life before you?" "What she told me. That she grew up in the Midwest, that her parents died when she was young, that she was raised by an aunt near Rochester, that she studied communications, got a job in brand strategy, and moved here for work." "Did you ever verify any of that?" "Why would I investigate my own wife? I trusted her. I loved her." The woman leaned forward just slightly. "We are not saying you committed any crime, but we need you to consider a possibility. Your wife may not have been honest about who she really was." I left that room hollow, not confused, hollow, as if someone had reached inside me and torn out a wall I didn't know I needed. Who, then, was the woman I had shared a bed with for nearly a decade? Who was the mother of my child? Who was the woman who knew my routines, my fears, my habits, the way I took my coffee, the way I couldn't sleep without one foot outside the blanket? The next afternoon, I was sitting in the living room staring at nothing when I heard a car stop in front of the house. It wasn't the press. By then I knew the sound of their vans. I looked through the window and saw a plain black sedan parked behind my car. A woman stepped out. Sharp features. Gray hair pulled back neatly. The kind of presence that silences a room without trying. She walked to the door and knocked 3 times. Evenly, firmly. I opened it. "Ethan Carter?" "Yes." She showed me an identification card with an emblem I didn't recognize. "My name is Margaret Hale, Strategic Operations Division, National Intelligence Directorate."
Esther here.
"Intelligence? What are you doing here? May I come in? What I have to tell you should not be said on a front porch." I let her inside. She closed the door and glanced around the living room, taking in the family photos, Lily's toys, the visible remains of a normal life that had been shattered less than 2 weeks earlier. "Where is your daughter?" she asked. "At my mother's house 2 streets over. I didn't want her here if something else happened." "Good," she said quietly. Then she looked at me. "You need to sit down,"
he said.
She remained standing. "What I'm about to tell you is classified. You cannot share it with the police, your family, your friends, or anyone else. If you do, you may face serious legal consequences. Do you understand?" I didn't understand anything. I only said, "Tell me where my wife is." She took a breath. "Your wife is alive." The words hit me with a force that made everything inside me lurch. For 11 days, I had been bracing for the worst. A body, a call, a final answer that would destroy me in a way I could at least name. "Where is she? Is she all right? Can I see her?" "I cannot tell you where she is, but she is safe and unharmed." "Then why would she do this? Why let me think she was dead?" "Mr. Carter, listen carefully. What I'm going to tell you is going to break you, but you deserve the truth." She paused only a second. "The person you married does not exist." The sentence was absurd. Claire was real. She had been my wife for almost 10 years. She had given birth to my daughter. She had lived in this house, laughed in this kitchen, cried in my arms when my father died. "What are you talking about?" Margaret finally sat across from me. "The woman you knew as Claire Bennett was born under another name, Naomi Mercer. She was orphaned as a child. That part was true. But she was not raised by an aunt, and she did not attend the schools she claimed. She was recruited at a young age into a state program designed to train deep-cover operatives." I stared at her without breathing. "You're telling me my wife was a spy?" "I'm telling you that your wife was an undercover intelligence operative assigned to build a complete identity and a believable life as deep cover." "Cover for what?" Margaret hesitated for a fraction of a second. "For you." Silence fell so hard I could hear the clock on the wall, my ragged breathing, a car passing outside. "For me? Why would the government watch me?" "Your firm participated in the design phase of infrastructure projects linked to strategic transportation and defense networks. There was concern that foreign operatives might attempt to access you, influence you, or compromise your position. She was assigned to observe you, assess risk, and ensure no hostile actor reached you first." I stood so quickly the room tilted. "So they placed a woman in my life? They told her to pretend to love me? To marry me? To have a child with me?" "It was a preventative measure," she said, her tone unchanged. "It was never an accusation against you." I began pacing the room, feeling the floor slope under my feet. Then everything was a lie. Everything. "No," she said, and for the first time I heard something like pity in her voice. "And that is exactly what you need to understand. Naomi was sent to monitor you, but what happened between you was never part of the plan. The relationship, the marriage, the love, your daughter, none of that was anticipated." I stopped and looked at her. "And how exactly am I supposed to believe that?" "Because she requested removal from the operation more than once. Over several years. She reported emotional involvement and stated she could no longer maintain professional distance. Her superiors denied every request. She was too valuable. Her cover was too effective. Her integration into your life was complete." "And Lily?" I asked, my voice destroyed. "Was my daughter part of the mission too?" "Lily was not planned as an operational element. But once she was born, she strengthened the credibility of the cover." A wave of cold disgust climbed up my chest. "My daughter is not cover." "No," Margaret said. "And Naomi never saw her that way." She held my gaze. "Mr. Carter, I know this is unbearable, but you need to hear this. She loved you. She loved both of you. And that is exactly why she had to leave." I went still. "What does that mean?" 11 days ago, an international operation failed. A hostile asset named Leon Varga obtained intelligence that identified Naomi as a deep cover operative. The moment her status was exposed, everyone connected to her became a potential target. Your daughter." anyone close enough to be used. My blood turned to ice. So she left to protect us. She left because she was ordered to disappear immediately. If she had stayed, all three of you would have been hunted. By vanishing, she drew attention away and gave us time to contain the threat. Contain it. Varga was taken into custody several days ago, and his nearest network has been dismantled. The primary threat is under control. I dropped onto the couch. Then she can come back. If the danger has passed, she can come home. Margaret took too long to answer.
I'm sorry.
She cannot. Why not? You just said the main threat is over. Varga was one piece. Now several hostile groups know Naomi worked for us. If she returns to her former life, she exposes herself again, and she exposes you and your daughter. The only way to keep all of you alive is for her to disappear permanently. Permanently? I could barely hear my own voice. You're telling me I will never see her again? I'm telling you that the woman you knew as Claire Bennett can no longer exist. Naomi Mercer will receive a new identity, a new assignment, a new life. There can be no contact, no calls, no letters, no meetings. You don't get to decide that, I whispered, though I had almost no voice left. Margaret leaned forward. I did not come here to ask you to accept it. I came because Naomi asked me to give you this. She took a white envelope from her coat. My name was written on it in handwriting I would have recognized anywhere. Claire's handwriting. Or Naomi's. She wrote it before she left, Margaret said. She knew she would not be allowed to say goodbye in person. My hands shook as I took it. Can I read it now? You can do whatever you need to do, she said. But don't expect it to make this easier. She stood. The police will be informed that your wife has been located and left voluntarily for personal reasons. They will never know the truth. To the world, Claire Bennett will be the woman who abandoned her husband and child. Your name will be cleared, but she will carry that version forever. And I'm supposed to live with that? You are supposed to protect your daughter. If she is going to have any chance at a normal life, this truth has to stay buried. She walked to the door. Before leaving, she said something that didn't help at all, and yet I still remember it word for word. I am truly sorry, Mr. Carter. After she was gone, I stood there with the envelope in my hands and the feeling that the air had become too heavy to breathe. I opened it. My dearest Ethan, I have started this letter 100 times, and every version felt impossible. How do you explain a life built on lies to the person you have loved most? I suppose I have to begin with the only thing I still own. The truth. My name is Naomi Mercer. I was born in 1988 in a small town far from here. My parents died when I was a child. That part was real. But almost everything else was created to build the woman who would enter your life without raising suspicion. I was assigned to watch you. Your work drew the attention of dangerous people, and my job was to make sure no one reached you through the wrong door. That was the mission. There was never supposed to be anything more between us. And then I met you. Do you remember our first conversation? That coffee shop near the river with the awful espresso and the beautiful windows. You were reading a book about old cathedrals. I asked about it not because I cared about architecture that day, but because I needed a simple excuse to speak to you. You spent almost an hour explaining arches, weight, balance, and how domes survive for centuries because someone understood exactly how much pressure they could carry without collapsing. Your eyes lit up when you talked about it. I remember thinking, this man is real. I was supposed to monitor you. Instead, I fell in love with you. Before we were married, I had already broken too many rules. I asked to be removed. I admitted I could no longer keep emotional distance. They refused. They said my position was too useful, my cover too perfect, my access too important. So I stayed. And with you, I built a real life on top of something false. When Lily was born, I knew I would never be able to leave by choice. Not because of the operation, but because of you, because of her, because of the family we had become. I know right now you must feel betrayal, humiliation, rage. You have every right to. I lied to you for years. I let you love a woman built from invention. But there is one thing I need you to know, even if you never forgive me. My love for you was real. Every kiss, Every stupid argument. Every sleepless night. Every morning we stood over Lily's bed and watched her breathe. That was me. The only version of me that ever truly mattered. The person I might have been if I had been allowed a normal life. By the time you read this, I will be gone under another name, another history, another face to the world. I am not asking you to wait for me. I am not asking you to forgive me. I am asking only one thing. When you speak about me to Lily, speak about the mother who loved her. Not the operative. Not the lie. Tell her about the woman who kissed her scraped knees, read her bedtime stories, held her close during storms, sang in the kitchen while pancakes burned on the stove. That woman existed, Ethan. She was the best part of me. I loved you. I love you still. And I will regret this for the rest of my life. Beneath the old dogwood tree in the yard, where Lily used to play with her red pail, I buried a box. Inside it is the little I managed to keep that was truly mine. Photographs from my childhood, letters from my parents, memories from before I became someone else. One day I want it to belong to her. I read the letter once, then again, then again. Every time it broke me differently. First came anger, then grief, then something even worse, understanding. And I was ashamed that I understood her. She had lied to me for nearly 10 years. She had lived with 2 names and 2 histories. But she had also loved me, and that love felt too real in too many precise memories to be dismissed by paper and ink. The way she used to look at me across the breakfast table, the way she squeezed my hand at my father's funeral, the tears that ran down her face the first time she saw Lily and whispered that she was perfect. That night I took a shovel outside and dug beneath the dogwood tree. My hands shook so badly I had to stop twice. The box was there, exactly where she said it would be. Metal, waterproof, locked. The combination was Lily's birthday. Inside were photographs, a solemn dark-eyed girl standing beside 2 smiling adults, letters with faded ink, a pressed flower, a child's bracelet, an old paperback with a handwritten name inside, Naomi Mercer. Fragments of a life erased. Proof that before Claire there had been another woman made of memory, sorrow, and truth. I hid the box in my closet. I knew someday I would have to give it to Lily when she was old enough to carry a truth that heavy. But that night, all I could do was sit alone in the dark and cry for 2 women at once. For Claire, who had never fully existed, and for Naomi, whom I would never truly know again. The days that followed were strange. Just as Margaret had promised, the police closed the case and announced that my wife had been found and had left of her own free will for personal reasons. Detective Pike called me with a voice that sounded almost embarrassed. It appears your wife chose to leave. The investigation is closed. That's it? I asked.
No explanation.
Higher authorities have intervened. We have no further details.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Such a useless word. There was no closure in any of it. The reporters vanished the same day. I was no longer interesting, no longer a possible killer. Just another man whose wife had walked away. Sad, yes, but not dramatic enough to keep cameras parked outside. Then the calls started coming back. Daniel was still with me. Old friends sent awkward messages. Sorry I pulled away. I didn't know what to think. Claire's best friend sobbed over the phone. I can't believe she left like that. I'm sorry for how I treated you. I accepted their apologies, their tense visits, their late attempts at comfort. I told none of them the truth. Couldn't. To everyone else, Claire Bennett was the woman who abandoned her family. Only I knew the real story, and that meant carrying it in silence for the rest of my life. The hardest thing of all was talking to Lily. She was 9. She had spent nearly 2 weeks asking where her mother was, hearing conversations stop when she entered a room, seeing cameras outside the house. How do you explain to a child that her mother is not coming back? Not because she stopped loving her, not because she is dead, but because the world is darker than children are meant to know, and some truths are too heavy even for grown adults. I chose every word carefully. Lily, I need to tell you something about Mom. She looked at me with the same dark eyes I now knew where she got from. Is she coming back?
No, sweetheart.
She isn't coming home. Why? Because there are dangerous people who could hurt her, and hurt us too. And to keep us safe, she had to go very far away. Then why can't we go with her? Because they would look for us too. And your mom didn't want that. She wanted you to grow up safe, here, with a quiet life. She was silent for a moment, then asked the only question that mattered. Does she still love me? I pulled her into my arms so tightly it felt like my chest would split open. More than anything in the world. That is exactly why she left. She loves you so much she would rather be far away than let anything happen to you. Will I see her again? I hesitated. The most honest answer was probably no. But I did not have the strength to crush all hope inside a child. I don't know, sweetheart. Maybe one day when everything is safer. But right now we have to be brave. Okay? She nodded slowly.
I miss her, Dad.
I miss her too. We stayed there holding each other, crying together, beginning without wanting to the cruelest task of our lives. Learning how to keep living without her. 2 years have passed since that Tuesday. I'm 45 now. I still live in the same house. I still run the same firm. I still wake some mornings with the stupid, impossible expectation that I'll find her beside me. The pain does not disappear. It changes shape. It sinks deeper. It becomes quieter and heavier, like a stone on the bottom of dark water. Lily is 11 now. She plays soccer, argues over nonsense, and is growing too quickly for my heart to keep up. Sometimes she still asks about her mother. Less than before, but she still asks. Do you think she's okay? I want to believe she is. Do you think she thinks about us every day? I don't know anything about Naomi's life now. I don't know where she is, what name she uses, whether she sleeps peacefully or still lives among shadows. Margaret made it clear there would be no updates. But I choose to believe Naomi thinks of us. It is the only way I know how to bear it. Last month, something happened. I went to pick Lily up from soccer practice, and across the field I saw a woman standing near the fence. She wore a cap, dark glasses despite the overcast sky, and plain clothes chosen so carefully they almost called attention to themselves by how ordinary they were. But something about her posture went through me like electricity. The angle of her shoulders, the slight tilt of her head, the way she stood completely still while watching Lily laugh with her teammates. I froze. Then she turned just enough and our eyes met for 1 second, maybe 2. Time stopped inside me. It was her. I cannot explain it logically. Her hair was different. Shorter, lighter. Her face looked changed by distance, shadow, maybe by design. But some things are recognized by the soul before the eyes can prove them. She held my gaze and smiled. It was the smallest smile, sad and full of everything she could not say. I'm alive. I see you. I still love you. Then she turned and disappeared behind the field house before I could move. I did not chase her. I did not call out. Not because I didn't want to, but because at last I understood what was all I was ever going to get from her. Glimpses, one stolen second, one silent proof that she was still somewhere in this world. When Lily came running toward me, muddy and grinning, I crouched and hugged her so hard she started laughing. What's wrong, Dad? Are you crying? Nothing's wrong, sweetheart. I just love you very much. I love you too. I took her to the car and looked once more at the corner where that woman had vanished. She was gone. And somehow she was still there. Maybe that had to be enough. Because this is not the kind of story people expect. When a wife disappears, the world wants a simple villain or a simple victim. It loves easy versions. Innocent and guilty, monster and martyr, lie and truth. But life rarely obeys those clean categories. My wife was a deep-cover operative sent to watch me, and she fell in love with me. She lied to me for nearly 10 years. And she loved me for nearly 10 years. When her identity was blown, she had to choose between staying and putting us in danger or disappearing to save us. She chose to leave. She chose to let the world hate her rather than risk our lives. The woman I married was not entirely real. That's what they told me. And in one sense, that was true. Claire Bennett was a designed identity, a built history, a useful name. But Naomi Mercer was real. Her love was real. Our daughter is real. The life we built together, even on false foundations, was real in the only way that matters, in what we felt while we were living it. I don't know if I will ever see her again. I don't know if Lily will ever know the whole truth. I don't know whether some door in the future will open again or whether everything will remain forever frozen in that tiny smile at the edge of a soccer field. What I do know is this. I was loved in a way that was impossible, devastating, and deeply true by a woman who gave up everything so I could stay alive. And that is not a small thing. It is enormous. Right now, as I tell you this, it's Saturday morning. Lily is in the kitchen trying to make pancakes with more confidence than skill. There's flour everywhere, and she's humming a tune her mother used to sing while cooking. I'm standing by the window watching the street. Sometimes I think I see her at the far end of it, a figure in a cap, a car slowing down for 1 second too long in front of the house, a face in the crowd that feels almost familiar. Maybe it's real. Maybe it's longing. Maybe it's the stubborn ghost of a love that refuses to disappear. My wife vanished on a Tuesday. 11 days later, I learned the woman I had married had never entirely existed. But the love did, and that is the strangest, cruelest, most powerful part of all. Love survives even when identity shatters, when truth arrives too late, when the name, the past, and the future explode into pieces. Claire is gone. Naomi is somewhere out there. And I'm still here, raising our daughter, carrying a secret that will probably die with me one day. But I'm not completely alone. I have Lily. I have my brother. I have my mother. I have the memory of nearly 10 years that meant everything. And somewhere in this world, I want to believe Naomi still thinks of us too. For now, that has to be enough. If the story moved you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment telling me what you would have done in my place. Would you have hated her, forgiven her, or spent the rest of your life waiting for one more glimpse? Based on the story you shared here,